So this is our case law presentation. The law that we did was the Civil Rights Act. I'm Dane, and my partner that I did it with is Colin. So just a little bit about the development of the act. Democrats from the South tried to uphold the law before it was passed. After a couple constant push efforts and some support from Republicans, they were able to overcome Democratic voters, mostly from the South. A lot of people that were against this act were definitely from the southern part of the United States. Um, this was after the fact, but in August of 1993, hundreds of thousands of people were brought to the nation's capital to demand jobs and freedom. And this kind of went along with it because it pushed for more jobs and for more freedom just in the United States in general. And then when the compromise bill was finally put to vote, it passed 73 to 27. So it was definitely time that this law was to be in effect. So just a little bit about the Civil Rights Act of 1964. The act itself prohibited discrimination in public accommodations and federally funded programs. It also strengthened the enforcement of voting rights and the desegregation in schools. This was definitely big because now people of color were able to go into these public places like movie theaters and shopping malls, and they wouldn't get discriminated against, or it wouldn't be illegal for them to do so. This act served as the nation's benchmark and continues to be resonant in America today. Now you see color and diversity kind of implemented everywhere, and I think it's a very important part of our society. And without it, I think we would be definitely not as far as we are today, just in technology and everything. On June 6th, 1963, John F. Kennedy had made it known to the public and urged them to take action toward equal treatment between all races. Obviously, John F. Kennedy was assassinated, and then next, President Johnson was the president after that, and he signed it into effect July 2nd of 1964.
Okay, so we wanted to compare this act to another act, and in order to do that, we picked the Wisconsin Fair Employment Act. This act prohibits employers, employment agencies, labor unions, licensing agencies, and other persons from discriminating against employees, job applicants, or licensing applicants because of their membership in specific protected categories, including race, color, national origin, and ancestry. This goes along with the Civil Rights Act because it promotes fair employment for all races of people. So we wanted to pick an organization that practices the Civil Rights Act, and to do that, we picked the NFL. The NFL's Rooney Rule is a great example of this. The Rooney Rule aims to make hiring fair for people of all races. Over time, the law has been added to in order to make things more fair. So the Rooney Rule was added because there wasn't enough minorities being hired by the NFL, and they felt that there needed to be another act or rule in place to make sure that employment was fair for people of all races. On these next few slides, we're going to talk about all the details of the Rooney Rule. So it rewards teams who produced minority players who later became general managers or head coaches throughout the league. A team would be awarded a 2-year compensation pick in the 3rd round if a minority executive or coach left for another team. A team would be awarded a 3-year compensatory choice in the 3rd round if it lost both a coach and a player. So if they lost a player or coach in this situation, then they would be awarded compensation for that. So it also mandated that for head coaching vacancies, each team interview a minimum of 2 external minority applicants and one external minority candidate for coordinator roles. In addition, candidates of color and/or women must be interviewed for a minimum of one senior level position. So this goes with what I was saying earlier. It provides more opportunity for other races that don't really have a position right now in the NFL. And the NFL is trying to add these people and make sure that they have the opportunity to show what they can offer to the league. So, more details on this. For open QB coach positions, NFL teams are now obligated to interview outside candidates who identify as women or members of unrepresentative groups. The decision is anticipated to contribute to a future increase in the appointment of minority head coaches as many aspiring head coaches start their careers in the quarterback room. I think that we've packed around the entire discussion and subject, and we've done a lot of beneficial things. This quote was said by Mike Tomlin. He's been a big advocate for the Rooney Rule throughout his career. He's a very successful minority coach in the league. Many people would actually have him as the best coach in the league, and he's been a big advocate for this. And before the Rooney Rule was in place, he also spoke out about why there is a need for the Rooney Rule. And I personally think that the NFL has done a great job doing more to get minorities and do what the Civil Rights Act wants people to do.
A little bit of application of the Civil Rights Act. We were specifically looking at the Civil Rights Act of 1964, but with that being said, that act brought a bunch of other acts that were very similarly related into effect. So this very first act of 1964 kind of got the ball moving. The first other act just that we looked at was Title I, which had to do with equal voting rights between all races. This was definitely big back in the day because it allowed people of color and people of minority to express their votes, which they have every right to do. Title II, which outlawed discrimination on the grounds of race and color and religion or national origin in establishments that provide public accommodation. So again, this was a very big thing that kind of happened. Without this law, obviously, you would not see people of color in public, which is just not fair. And today it just wouldn't seem right. But laws like this or titles like this definitely paved the way. Next up, we got Title III, which was a desegregation of public facilities. Again, kind of going along the lines of the first two, it just paved the way so that people of color could go into these public facilities and not have to worry about harassment or getting in trouble with the law or the police or whoever it may be. And then the last one that we looked at was Title VII, which allowed equal employment opportunity. This title specifically was not just for people of color, but it was also women. So this kind of helped everyone, or just helped the nation altogether, be able to have equal employment opportunities.
So we agree with it. History was not on the right side of things. In the early days, we got it wrong. Minorities and other races other than white were treated very bad in this country, and it was time for an act that changed all of this. And it is important because it helped create equal opportunities for people of all races. This is something that obviously nowadays we've come accustomed to, but it's not the way things used to be. And now that it is the way that it is, I think a lot of this can be summed up because of the Civil Rights Act, and I think it goes to show how important it actually was.
And lastly, I think without this act, we wouldn't be anywhere near where we are today. Um, I know I mentioned it earlier in the presentation, but I think that by allowing people of color just to be in public places, and then that ends up making them being able to get certain jobs, and then you know you have smart people of color all over the place, and yeah, it just really helps out. And lastly, here are our sources for our project.